The galaxy had long viewed humanity as a minor nuisance, a species too small, too divided, and too primitive to ever matter on the interstellar stage. And yet here they were, seated on the edge of the Sol system, watching with what the observers call benign indifference as fleets of alien warships moved closer, their engines painting the void with the cold hum of calculated threat. The Terran Confederation had grown quietly over centuries, its reach underestimated because humans rarely flaunted power, preferring diplomacy and observation over confrontation. Yet each planet surveyed, each communication network built, and each colony established, it quietly laid the groundwork for a civilization that was ready for the day when patience ran out, a day that many alien species assumed would never arrive. The first contact came not with a handshake or formal greeting, but with a warning. A crystalline message transmitted across light years, simple, concise, and utterly human. Withdraw or face consequences. And the aliens had laughed at the arrogance, their senses unable to detect the subtlety of human technology, which was not flashy but precise, disciplined, and, above all, scalable. Fleets that had once been confident now slowed, reassessing the data streams, trying to interpret a species whose diplomatic tone masked capabilities that defied conventional measurement. And yet on Earth, humans carried on with their routines, scientists monitoring distant anomalies, engineers calibrating drives, military officers running drills that were more simulation than show, and politicians negotiating interstellar treaties that many thought would be meaningless. As the alien delegation approached, assuming that fear and intimidation would suffice, the humans convened quietly in a chamber deep beneath the crust of Luna, not for panic or frantic debate, but for analysis, strategy, and, most importantly, restraint. For humanity had always known that war was not the first choice, but preparation was never an option they ignored, and so every system, from orbital defense grid to planetary shields, from AI coordination nodes to bioengineered personnel enhancements, was reviewed, tested, and quietly improved in ways that an external observer would have missed entirely. And then the aliens made their move, probing with small strike teams and reconnaissance ships, expecting surrender or at least visible hesitation, and found none. Instead, they encountered human fleets that appeared scattered, disconnected, almost haphazard. But when pressure was applied, these fleets coalesced with surgical precision, targeting weak points in alien formations, neutralizing command signals, and slipping away before countermeasures could fully respond. And each encounter brought a growing sense of unease to the alien high command, whose members began to realize that intelligence reports had failed them catastrophically, that every underestimate of human adaptability and resolve had compounded their strategic miscalculation. And still, on Earth, the humans maintained their calm, issuing further warnings, demonstrating restraint while their analysts mapped alien fleets. Their scientists optimized weapons that would not just destroy but incapacitate with minimal collateral. Their engineers modified propulsion systems to execute maneuvers no alien technology could predict. And as weeks turned into months, the human networks extended farther, encompassing not only colonies in the Sol system, but distant outposts in nearby star systems, all linked by encrypted communication arrays that the aliens could not penetrate, creating a lattice of observation and readiness that meant humanity could respond to threats anywhere before the aggressors realized what had happened. And when the first significant engagement erupted, it was neither sudden nor chaotic, but controlled, decisive demonstration of human tactical brilliance, as alien ships that had assumed numerical superiority found themselves corralled into zones where their weapons became ineffective, their senses confused by adaptive cloaking technology, and their command structures disrupted by coordinated electronic and biological countermeasures. And yet, despite the obvious mastery, humans did not celebrate, did not gloat. Their leaders transmitted another message, equally simple, equally human. The war is not desired, but it will be fought if provoked, and it was this combination of calculated strength and moral clarity that caused fractures among the alien coalition, as some species questioned whether their own leaders had acted recklessly, whether the cause of provoking humanity could ever be justified. And within human society, this conflict, though escalating, remained an exercise in restraint and planning, as every move was measured not just for tactical effect but for long-term implications. For humanity had learned through countless histories that raw power without strategy was self-destructive, and so every strike, every maneuver, Every countermeasure was executed with precision, and the aliens began to realize that humans were not only resilient and technologically advanced, but also uniquely capable of integrating moral consideration with strategic aggression, creating a force that was simultaneously terrifying and disciplined. And as the battle continued across multiple star systems, the humans revealed a capacity for improvisation and innovation that no algorithm or historical precedent had predicted, developing new propulsion methods mid-conflict, adapting weapon systems faster than alien engineers could respond, and, above all, coordinating across vast distances with a level of efficiency that confounded the coalition. And while the aliens debated, delayed, and faltered, humans saved countless allied species that had been caught in the crossfire, not out of obligation, but because the moral and tactical calculus of humanity understood the power of alliances and reputation in ways the alien aggressors had never considered. And so the war that had been presumed to be inevitable became a showcase of human ingenuity, patience, and restrained fury, a demonstration that while humanity had avoided open conflict for centuries, when the moment came, every underestimate, every dismissive judgment, every act of hubris by the galactic powers would be repaid with a precision that was not just military but deeply, fundamentally human. And the first part of this story concluded not with victory but with a quiet, simmering realization among the alien high command that humanity had never been naive, that patience had never been weakness, and that the war they assumed they would win had already been lost in the calculation they had refused to make. As the alien coalition scrambled to reassess their assumptions, humanity's strategy expanded beyond mere defense into controlled offensives that were surgical, precise, and psychologically devastating, as small task forces appeared in unexpected sectors of space, disabling supply lines, commandeering logistics hubs, and striking with an efficiency that suggested foresight stretching decades into the past and future simultaneously. And yet humans maintained a visible restraint, never pursuing annihilation, but always ensuring that their actions sent unmistakable warnings that provocation carried consequences. And within human command centers, generals, admirals, scientists, and politicians worked in seamless coordination, leveraging centuries of experience across conflict, exploration, and diplomacy. Their decisions informed not just by data but by intuition honed through both trial and history. And the aliens began to see a pattern they had not anticipated. Humans did not act out of fear, greed, or domination alone. Every maneuver was informed by laid objectives, including protection of weaker species, preservation of resources, and the cultivation of alliances, creating a network of influence and deterrence that rendered the alien numerical advantage irrelevant. And as individual alien species attempted to assert dominance within their coalition, internal disputes erupted, undermining coordinated attacks, slowing fleet movements, and causing the once feared armada to fracture into isolated contingents, each vulnerable to the adaptive tactics of human forces. And across these engagements, humanity demonstrated not only tactical mastery but also technological surprises that the aliens had never predicted, from bioengineered drones capable of repairing themselves mid-battle to adaptive shield technologies that learned and countered enemy weapons in real time. And while these tools were impressive, it was a human mind itself, the capacity for rapid, creative, problem-solving under pressure, that became the true terror of the galaxy, as alien commanders faced decisions they could neither simulate nor anticipate, trapped by the ingenuity of a species they had long dismissed. And on Earth, leaders coordinated directly with colony governors and fleet commanders across the stars, maintaining a clarity of purpose and communication that no alien system could disrupt, while back-channel negotiations and intelligence operations infiltrated enemy councils, subtly shaping decisions, spreading doubt, and exposing the overconfidence that had been humanity's invitation to attack in the first place. And yet amidst all this, humans preserved the lives of innocents wherever possible, rescuing captured civilians and alien allies alike, using evacuation strategies, diversionary tactics, and covert operations that showcase a level of empathy intertwined with effectiveness that the alien coalition could not comprehend. And the psychological impact of these actions became evident as alien populations began to question the morality and judgment of their own leadership, whispers of doubt spreading through fleets and planetary colonies alike, eroding morale and forcing strategic recalculations. While humans continued to press forward with a disciplined patience that never wavered, every calculated strike, every rescue, every demonstration of strength reinforcing a single, undeniable message. Humanity's patience was finite, Their restraint was strategic, and the war they had avoided for centuries would not remain avoided or provoked again. And as months passed, the conflict expanded into sectors the aliens had previously considered safe, their complacency shattered by the realization that humans could project power across interstellar distances with precision, and yet each action was accompanied by restraint, each victory tempered by purpose, demonstrating a species whose morality, intelligence, and capability were inseparable from their strategic genius. And by the time the alien coalition attempted a decisive counteroffensive, it was already too late, as humans had anticipated not only the attack but its possible deviations, laying traps, contingencies, and countermeasures that rendered alien tactics ineffective, disorganized, and self-destructive. And as their ships fell back, their fleets fractured, and their leaders despaired, humans did not gloat, but instead transmitted a final, unmistakable warning across the void. A reminder that the war they had so long avoided would never be sought but would always be met with a full measure of human capability. And in the minds of the alien command, the realization crystallized: every underestimate, every dismissive judgment, every act of hubris had been recorded, calculated, and repaid with precision, and the galaxy itself had learned, too late, that humanity was never weak, never naive, and never to be taken lightly. The alien coalition, now fractured and wary, began to comprehend the scale of what they had provoked, their previous confidence replaced by confusion, fear, and hesitation, as humans shifted from defensive maneuvers to controlled demonstrations of strategic dominance, not reckless conquest but precise, overwhelming capability, striking when necessary, exposing weaknesses, and always retreating before a counterstrike could fully organize. And while alien fleets struggled to maintain cohesion, humans moved in synchronized patterns across multiple star systems, their fleets appearing in unexpected locations, coordinating with near-instantaneous precision through networks that even the most advanced alien encryption could not penetrate. And yet the humans themselves remained disciplined, their leaders emphasizing restraint over vengeance, choosing targets to maximize deterrence, preserve allies, and force recalculation without unnecessary loss of life. And in doing so, they revealed a fundamental truth to the galaxy: that humans combine patience, creativity, and empathy in ways that no other species had, integrating tactical brilliance with moral judgment, a combination that alien strategists had never encountered. And the consequences were immediate, as alien species that had once sought to dominate or intimidate humanity found their alliances faltering, their commands overruled by internal dissent, their forces misallocated, and their morale crumbling, while humans continue to operate as a singular, unified entity, with scientists, engineers, diplomats, and military commanders sharing information, resources, and decisions seamlessly across vast distances, creating a chain of action and reaction that seemed almost prescient. And as the conflict progressed, humans demonstrated not only technological superiority but also the ability to innovate under pressure, reproposing alien weapons, adapting propulsion systems mid-battle, and coordinating multi-theater operations with an efficiency that the coalition could neither match nor anticipate. And while humans acted decisively, they also maintained a vision for the galaxy beyond immediate victories, sending messages to colonies and allied species assuring protection, providing support, and preventing chaos wherever alien aggression had caused disruption. And the aliens were forced to confront the stark reality that humanity's restraint had never been weakness, that their patience had been deliberate, and that their willingness to act decisively when provoked was both inevitable and inescapable. And as isolated fleets were neutralized, supply lines disrupted, and command structures dismantled, humans also revealed subtle psychological tactics, projecting strength without unnecessary aggression, creating doubt, hesitation, and fear within enemy leadership, fracturing alliances, and forcing strategic recalculations at every level. And all the while, Earth remained the calm center of a storm that stretched across light years, the planetary government coordinating every move with clarity, precision, and foresight, demonstrating a level of organizational discipline unmatched in the galaxy. And as alien species tried to regroup, they discovered that humans had anticipated multiple contingencies, their operations flexible, adaptive, and resilient, capable of turning setbacks into advantages and losses into lessons. And while alien leaders debated, delayed, and faltered, humans executed evacuation missions for civilians caught in contested zones, secured allies' infrastructure, and dismantled hostile networks without unnecessary destruction, each action reinforcing the unmistakable truth. Humanity had avoided war for centuries not because they lacked power, but because they measured every step, and now that provocation had forced their hand. Every underestimated calculation by alien forces became a fatal error, and as a coalition began to fracture under internal dissent, miscommunication, and the sheer effectiveness of human strategy, the realization spread like wildfire through alien command. The war they thought they had started was no longer a contest, but a demonstration of human capability, ingenuity, and resolve, and the galaxy had no choice but to acknowledge, with growing dread, that the species they had dismissed as insignificant, weak, or peaceful beyond reason was in fact the most formidable force they had ever faced, not because of brute strength alone, but because humanity had combined intelligence, foresight, adaptability, and moral clarity into a singular, unstoppable presence. And as battles rage across contested star systems, with alien fleets falling into disarray and humans preserving both life and order wherever possible, it became increasingly clear that the war humanity had avoided for so long was not only now unavoidable, but also a lesson in strategy, patience, and consequence for every species that had ever underestimated the quiet power of Earth. And as Part 3 closed, the Coalition faced a bitter truth. They had misjudged the humans at every step, and the cost of that misjudgment would shape the galaxy for generations to come. By the time the alien coalition attempted to reorganize, the humans had already extended their influence into sectors they had once considered uncontested, moving with a combination of speed, foresight, and coordination that made their presence in multiple theaters of conflict seem almost omnipresent. And yet every operation was measured, every strike calculated to minimize unnecessary destruction while maximizing deterrence and strategic advantage. And this balance between force and restraint began to unsettle not just military leaders but civilian populations across alien worlds, as they watched what they had assumed was a minor species demonstrate control over war in a manner they had never believed possible. And on Earth, the political and military leadership convened in secure chambers, analyzing every movement, every decision, every potential threat with meticulous attention. Their advisors presenting simulations that incorporated both known technology and the unpredictable creativity of human innovation, while scientists worked to enhance existing systems and develop new capabilities, not for conquest but to ensure that humanity could respond effectively to any escalation. And as these developments progressed, alien commanders found themselves facing not only superior firepower but also strategic flexibility, the human ability to adapt instantly to changing circumstances, to predict likely responses, and to manipulate outcomes through both overt and subtle actions. And this combination proved devastating to the coalition's morale, as every plan they attempted was anticipated, countered, or rendered irrelevant, leaving them scrambling to react rather than acting proactively. And yet humans did not pursue reckless annihilation. Their victories were deliberate, restrained, and calculated to send a clear message. The war they had avoided for centuries would be fought with precision to provoke, and every underestimate or miscalculation would be repaid with a force they could not anticipate. And as isolated alien fleets were neutralized or forced into retreat, humans coordinated simultaneous relief and protection missions for civilian populations caught in conflict zones, establishing temporary safe zones, delivering supplies, and ensuring that allies' infrastructure remained intact, all of which further highlighted the humans' unique integration of morality, strategy, and efficiency. And alien leaders, observing these actions, began to realize that the very characteristics they had dismissed, empathy, cooperation, and the disciplined restraint of humans, were the source of their greatest tactical and psychological advantage. And while the coalition debated internally, factions arose among alien species, each questioning the wisdom of continuing hostilities against a species that clearly combined intelligence, adaptability, and ethical consideration at a level unmatched in the galaxy. And as tensions within the coalition escalated, humans leveraged the uncertainty to strengthen their position, deploying rapid response fleets to secure critical points, disabling advanced alien communication arrays, and demonstrating not only technological mastery but also the ability to predict enemy decision-making with uncanny accuracy. And the cumulative effect of these operations was profound. Alien morale plummeted, command structures fragmented, and what had begun as a confident offensive against a supposedly minor species evolved into a desperate effort to survive, while humans, maintaining their calm and strategic patience, continued to project a presence that was simultaneously restrained and overwhelmingly dominant. And through every engagement, the humans revealed new capabilities. From adaptive energy shields that recalibrated to enemy fire mid-combat to AI-coordinated drones that executed complex maneuvers independently yet in perfect synchronization with human crews. And the result was a series of engagements that eroded alien confidence at every level, forcing leaders to acknowledge that the war they thought they were winning had already been lost strategically, even as humanity continued to prioritize preservation, diplomacy, and calculated deterrence, sending unmistakable messages that they did not seek conquest but would decisively respond to threats. And across multiple star systems, alien populations began to whisper of the dangerous misjudgment that had brought humanity into open conflict, as every underestimated calculation, every act of hubris, every assumption of human weakness had been systematically dismantled, leaving the coalition facing the inescapable truth. Humanity had avoided war for centuries not because they lacked power or intelligence, but because they exercised judgment, patience, and foresight, and now that provocation had forced their hand. The galaxy was witnessing a species whose combination of moral clarity, technological prowess, tactical brilliance, and adaptive creativity made them an unstoppable force. And by the conclusion of this stage of conflict, it was evident to every observer that the war humanity had avoided until now had shifted irrevocably, demonstrating that every underestimation, every miscalculation, and every assumption of human weakness had consequences the coalition could no longer ignore. And the only certainty remaining was that humanity would not falter, would not hesitate, and would continue to shape the outcome of the galaxy with calculated precision, leaving the alien coalition to realize, with dawning horror, that they had never truly understood the species they had provoked. As the conflict escalated into its second year, humans demonstrated an unparalleled ability to operate simultaneously on multiple fronts, combining offense, defense, diplomacy, and intelligence operations in ways that confounded every alien strategy. And while the coalition attempted to regroup, the humans revealed new layers of sophistication, deploying autonomous reconnaissance and rapid deployment units that could assess threats, neutralize hostile elements, and adapt to unforeseen variables, faster than any alien command structure could respond. And yet all actions remained measured, deliberately avoiding unnecessary destruction, prioritizing the safety of civilians, allies, and even captured enemy personnel, which further unsettled the aliens, whose leaders could not comprehend a species that combined ruthless efficiency with moral calculation. And across every sector of space, humans leveraged both technology and psychological strategy, creating uncertainty and hesitation within enemy ranks by presenting multiple simultaneous threats, feints, and countermeasures that forced alien commanders into defensive postures, while human analysts predicted and preempted almost every conceivable response, effectively controlling the tempo of the war. And while alien fleets began to splinter under pressure, internal disputes erupted over the cost of continued engagement, with factions demanding withdrawal, renegotiation, or reconsideration of their tactics. Yet human forces continued to act with precision, timing, and coordination that made the aliens' confusion appear inevitable, as entire fleets found themselves maneuvered into positions that neutralized their offensive potential, cut off their supply lines, or exposed command vulnerabilities. And the humans' restraint in not annihilating fleeing forces only deepened the psychological impact, signaling that every human action was calculated to maximize strategic effect while minimizing unnecessary destruction, a philosophy that alien species could not comprehend. And while humans maintained dominance in battles, they simultaneously strengthened diplomatic ties with neutral or allied species, securing intelligence, access points, and safe passage that further isolated the coalition, forcing alien leaders to confront the reality that their assumptions about humanity's weakness had been catastrophically wrong, and that every prior underestimate had compounded into a situation that increasingly appeared irreversible. And as humans continued to innovate, adapting alien technology for defensive and offensive purposes, modifying energy shields, propulsion systems, and communication networks in ways that made their fleets almost impossible to trap or predict, the alien command struggled to maintain cohesion, with internal mistrust, logistical failures, and tactical miscalculations growing alongside human effectiveness. And the more the aliens faltered, the more humanity demonstrated its unique combination of patience, adaptability, and moral clarity, preserving allies, stabilizing contested zones, and executing rescue operations while maintaining relentless operational pressure, and it became increasingly clear that the humans had not entered war impulsively or naively, but had anticipated every contingency, every potential escalation, and every variable that the coalition could introduce, turning what the aliens assumed would be a short, decisive campaign into a drawn-out demonstration of human resilience, creativity, and disciplined strategy. And as new theaters of engagement opened, human forces executed maneuvers that were simultaneously protective, disruptive, and psychologically overwhelming, neutralizing entire sectors without unnecessary bloodshed while eroding the coalition's confidence, and while alien populations began to despair and question their leadership. Humans continued to demonstrate a combination of moral and strategic clarity that left an indelible impression. That patience had been deliberate, restraint was strategic, and now that provocation had forced humanity to act, every previous misjudgment would be repaid with precision, intelligence, and adaptability that no alien force could match. And as Year 2 drew to a close, the coalition faced the undeniable reality that the war they had presumed would be a swift demonstration of dominance had transformed into a showcase of human ingenuity, patience, and capacity for controlled, decisive action. And while humans did not celebrate, did not gloat, and continued to prioritize both lives and long-term stability, the message to the galaxy was unmistakable. Humanity had avoided war for centuries not out of fear, weakness, or indecision, but out of choice, and now that their patience had ended, every underestimation, every dismissal, every act of hubris had been answered with a force that would redefine interstellar balance for generations. As the humans pushed deeper into contested space, the alien coalition's confidence continued to erode, with previously dominant species realizing that their numbers, technology, and assumed tactical superiority meant nothing against a species whose strategy combined foresight, adaptability, and moral restraint. And while fleets clashed in controlled, devastatingly efficient engagements, humanity simultaneously established secure zones for civilians and allies, repaired damaged infrastructure, and reinforced diplomatic channels, creating an impression of order, control, and ethical clarity that a coalition could neither anticipate nor counter. And within human command centers, leaders coordinated across multiple star systems, integrating intelligence from reconnaissance drones, intercepted communications, and allied reports into a dynamic operational plan that allowed them to predict enemy maneuvers almost before they occurred, while scientists and engineers continued to refine weaponry, propulsion systems, and adaptive shields, ensuring that human forces could respond to any escalation instantaneously. And this blend of innovation, foresight, and ethical calculation began to fracture alien morale further, as commanders realized that their assumptions about human simplicity, weakness, or predictability were fundamentally wrong. And as humans executed simultaneous strikes across multiple theaters, disabling key command hubs, supply depots, and communication arrays, the aliens found themselves reacting to moves they could not anticipate, their own strategic plans unraveling as if guided by an intelligence beyond their comprehension. And yet, despite the overwhelming advantage, humans maintained restraint, never pursuing unnecessary annihilation, and always allowing retreat where it served strategic, moral, or diplomatic purposes, reinforcing a pattern that both protected lives and amplified psychological pressure on the coalition. And as weeks turned into months, alien species began to recognize that humanity's patience had never been passive, that every act of restraint had been carefully calculated, and that the war they had presumed would be short had become a masterclass in disciplined, adaptive, and ethical strategy. And in the midst of this, human forces conducted covert operations to rescue captured personnel, retrieve critical resources, and secure alien colonies that had been endangered by the conflict, demonstrating commitment to allies and innocence that further distinguished humans from every species they had encountered. And while the coalition tried to reorganize, human fleets moved like a single, coordinated entity, adapting instantaneously to new threats, neutralizing them efficiently, and maintaining a psychological advantage that the aliens could neither counter nor fully comprehend. And as alien populations began to question their leadership, factions within the coalition debated the wisdom of continuing hostilities, while human diplomats quietly leveraged the uncertainty to secure new alliances, gather intelligence, and extend influence, ensuring that any recovery by the coalition would be slow, contested, and psychologically fraught. And throughout these operations, humans demonstrated an almost preternatural ability to integrate technology, strategy, and human intuition, combining electronic warfare, tactical maneuvers, and moral considerations in ways that rendered alien methods ineffective. And as new fronts opened, human adaptability ensured that every engagement reinforced their reputation, undermined enemy confidence, and secured strategic advantage without unnecessary destruction. And with every move, the message was clear. Humanity had avoided war for centuries not because they were weak, fearful, or unprepared, but because they measured every action, assessed every risk, and restrained their power until provocation demanded a response. And now, as a coalition's internal cohesion fractured, supply lines failed, and command structures collapsed, it became undeniable that the species they had underestimated for millennia had revealed itself as a force unlike any the galaxy had faced, capable of combining moral clarity, tactical brilliance, technological superiority, and adaptive creativity into a single, unstoppable presence. And by the end of this phase of the conflict, the aliens had no illusions left. The war humanity had avoided until now was fully underway, and every miscalculation they had made would be met with precise, deliberate, and devastating consequence. As the war reached its decisive phase, humanity's combination of patience, strategy, and moral clarity culminated in a series of coordinated campaigns that left the alien coalition unable to mount any meaningful resistance, with human fleets appearing in multiple contested systems simultaneously, neutralizing command hubs, supply chains, and key military installations with precision and efficiency. And while alien leaders scrambled to salvage their forces, humans demonstrated an unprecedented ability to adapt mid-conflict, deploying new technologies, modifying strategies on the fly, and coordinating across vast distances in ways that rendered conventional alien tactics obsolete. And yet every strike was deliberate, calculated to send an unmistakable message rather than to destroy indiscriminately, as humans prioritized the protection of civilian populations, allies, and even surrendered enemy personnel, showcasing a level of ethical consideration that the coalition had never expected from a species they had long dismissed as primitive. And the psychological effect was immediate and profound, as alien populations and commanders alike began to question the competence, judgment, and legitimacy of their own leadership, while human forces maintained unrelenting pressure, controlling the tempo of the war, anticipating every maneuver, and exploiting every misstep, and in every sector. The aliens were confronted with the stark reality that humanity had avoided war for centuries, not because they lacked strength, cunning, or capability, but because they had chosen restraint. And now that provocation had forced their hand, every prior underestimate, every act of hubris, every dismissal of human ingenuity was being repaid with surgical precision. And as the coalition fractured further, internal dissent grew rampant, supply lines failed, fleets became isolated, and leaders were forced to negotiate from positions of weakness, while humanity continued to act decisively yet honorably, securing peace where possible, rescuing those imperiled by conflict, and demonstrating that power could be wielded without cruelty. And as the final alien stronghold succumbed, humans issued a final communique across the galaxy, clear, concise, and profoundly human. The war they had long avoided had been fought only because it was necessary, and from this moment forward, any provocation against humanity or its allies would be met with swift, overwhelming, and unyielding response. And the galaxy understood, at last, that humans were a species whose patience was deliberate, whose restraint was tactical, whose morality was inseparable from strategy, and whose power was absolute when provoked. And as alien leaders came to terms with their misjudgments, entire civilizations began to reevaluate their assumptions, treaties were reconsidered, alliances reformed, and a new order emerged in which humanity's reputation for intelligence, adaptability, restraint, and ethical decisiveness became the foundation of interstellar diplomacy. And on Earth, humans reflected quietly on the conflict, knowing that their choices had preserved life, secured allies, and established a deterrent that would endure for generations, proving that war had never been desired, only measured, and only unleashed when provocation made it inevitable. And the final lesson was unmistakable to every species that had doubted them. The war humanity had avoided until now had been won, not just with fleets and technology, but with a full measure of human ingenuity, patience, restraint, and resolve, and the galaxy would never again underestimate the quiet power of Earth.